Hello again and welcome to another Mordy and Glory Warhammer 40k video. In today's episode, we are going to be casting our ever critical eye over a 10th edition datasheet. But we're not looking at Guard one, no. You see, I believe that a lot of Guard players are kind of sleeping on the big stompy robots and that they actually do have quite a lot to offer us as a faction. They're pretty multi-role and they can plug some gaps in our capabilities. And so without further ado, let's take a look at the good, the bad and the ugly of the Armiger Warglaive. As is tradition, let us begin with a brief overview of what the hell this unit actually is. Armigers are some of the smallest knights that you can take in 40k. They're often affectionately known as baby knights, and the Warglaives are the more melee orientated variant. On the battlefield, they stride forward quickly and nimbly, using their ranged weapons to soften the enemy up, then charging in and finishing them off with their impressive chain glaives. Well, at least that's how it works in theory, but what about the crunch? How do they actually translate onto the table?
Attention guardsmen, the commissariat has detected you have not yet liked this video. Do so immediately or else you will face the Emperor's wrath. And anyone who has not yet subscribed to the channel will be transferred to the penal battalions. That is all. Move out!
Well, to answer that question, let's dive into their datasheet. And we'll begin with stat line. They've got a 12-inch move. This is significant. Most Guard vehicles have only got a 10-inch move, so they do add a little bit extra speed to your armored forces, and that should not be overlooked. 2 inches might not seem like a lot. There's definitely an innuendo there, innuendo, but movement wins games, and 2 inches can be the difference between getting engaged on fronts or not getting it. It can be the difference between getting onto an objective and contesting it or not doing so. It's a difference between being forced to advance a unit and therefore not shooting, and that unit just getting to tow on and still operate with all of its offensive output. But these things aren't just fast, they're also durable. They've got a toughness of 10, which really helps make them durable versus things like auto cannons. Your opponent's going to need proper anti-tanks such as las cannons and their equivalent to reliably wound these things rather than fishing for 5s. They only have a 3+ save. Now I say only because a lot of Guard armor has got a 2+ save, even relatively small things like armored sentinels or medium vehicles like hellhounds have got a 2+ save. But the Warglaive does make up for this by having a 5+ invulnerable save. When we start really looking into this, it doesn't quite make up for it, but it's a decent thing to have. Firstly, it's a 5+ invulnerable save that's only against ranged attacks, so if someone gets into combat, you're relying on that 3+ save. Might not be great. But secondly, a unit with a 2+ save in cover, if it gets hit by an AP -3 weapon, has a 4+ save. And then you have the Armiger Warglaive, where if it's in cover and gets hit by an AP -3 weapon, it's only got a 5+ save. So your anti-tank threats that the opponent's going to throw at you are going to be a threat to the Warglaive, but at least it has got a 5+ invulnerable save. If someone starts hitting it with the big stuff like melter guns and stuff like that, or start stacking some additional AP modifiers, things like fields of 5, you're facing off against an opposing Guard player, traitor Guard player, then the 5+ invuln is going to help. But it doesn't quite, in my mind, make up for not being a 2+. It's just a nice to have. But it does have 12 wounds, which puts it in between your medium armor such as your hellhounds, and then you've got things like your Lemurus as well. It's got 12 wounds. It's nice. 13 wounds would be better, but 12 wounds means it is going to take more than likely 2 or 3 las cannons to bring it down rather than just 1 or 2, and it's also going to take a few extra autocannon damage 3 shots to also bring it down. It's an okay defensive stat line. It's not quite as durable as a lot of Guard vehicles, but Guard vehicles are exceptionally tough in a lot of circumstances. It's just normally durable in comparison to the wider 40k bubble. Leadership 7 is so-so, it's standard issue, but OC of 8 is really spicy. This gives it a clear and distinct advantage over other guard vehicles in the same weight category, which tend to cap out at OC 2 or 3. And even if you go heavier with expensive Rogue or Dawns, that's only OC 5. OC 8 means that this thing can control objectives against elite enemy units very reliably. But it's not just about how hard this thing can take a punch or how well it can hold an objective. Of course, being a knight, it needs to do some damage, and fortunately, the Armiger Warglaive can certainly do that. Each Armiger comes equipped with a Questoris Heavy Stubber, a Thermal Spear, and a Reaper Chain Cleaver. Now you can swap out the Heavy Stubber for a Melter Gun, and you're probably going to do that every single time. The Questoris Heavy Stubber is similar to a regular Heavy Stubber. It's rapid fire 3, 36 inch range, it has 3 attacks. It hits on a 3+ natively, unlike a lot of guards that we've hit on a 4+. It's strength 4, AP -1, 1 damage. So the only difference is it's got an extra pip of AP. But the Melter Gun is a Melter Gun, and we are in a meta of vehicles and monsters, and so something that is better strength, better AP, and better damage is almost always going to be the better choice. And unlike on a vehicle like a Rogue or Dawn, where the Melter Guns are kind of too short ranged, and if you're starting to use them, things are getting real spicy, real dicey, the Armiger Warglaive is going to want to get up close. It does decent damage in combat. So having a short range weapon like the Melter Gun on it isn't a hindrance. It actually leans into what you're going to expect this unit to do. But where the real ranged damage lies is in the Thermal Spear. This is a really, really good melter weapon. This actually makes all other melter weapons wish that it was their dad, because it's got a 24-inch range, which is more than a multi-melter. It has 2 attacks, which is the same as a multi-melter. It hits on ballistic skill 3+, which in the guard is great because it means we don't have to worry about this thing not hitting. A lot of guard vehicles hit on 4's base, and we have to spend points on orders to get them to hit up to 3. So just having that ballistic skill 3+ built in, nice. It's going to be in line with what a lot of the other guard vehicles are going to be shooting like. But the biggie is the strength 12. Wow. That makes it a proper anti-tank weapon. So many melter guns are strength 9 that it makes them actually not very good at dealing with vehicles reliably. Like, they can still do it if you apply them in volume, and melter guns are still decent at anti-tank. You've got, nothing else, or is it backup anti-tank? But a lot of vehicles out there are toughness 10 or above, and so fishing for 5s can be a bit risky. But having strength 12 on a melter weapon, this isn't actually a melter weapon. This is like this is competing with las cannons. This is proper anti-tank. And with AP -4, and with D6 damage, and with Melter 4. So if you're within 12-inch range, this is actually D6 plus 4 damage. And again, we're getting close to people, so getting in that Melter range ain't going to be difficult. Yeah, really, really like this. It's got the volume, it's got 2 attacks, so that it's reliably going to get a couple of hits in there. It's got the ballistic skill, it's got the strength, it's got the AP, and it's got the damage. There is a lot to like about this weapon. Normally at this point, I would then skip over to the abilities, and I wouldn't really mention the combat capabilities of a vehicle because, well, with the guard, it's like armored tracks, and it's a bunch of medium strength, no AP attacks. But the Warglaive, it got melee. The Reaper Chain Glaive can be swung in 2 different ways. You can either strike or you can sweep. If you strike with it, then it does 4 big attacks, coming in at weapon skill 3+, strength 10, AP -3, 3 damage. I like all of that. I like the volume of attacks, I like the weapon skill, I like the strength, although it might struggle against some heavier armor, but AP -3 and the sweet, sweet flat 3 damage. Oh! Nothing gets my dick harder than flat damage 3. It is my favorite kind of damage, apart from like damage 4, but we don't really have a lot of that. So flat damage 3 really is the way to go for me. But you can sweep it if you come across lots of little buggers that don't need high damage. They're all like 1 wound. And if you go for the sweep, then you get 8 attacks, doubling your volume, same weapon skill, still at strength 8. So outside like super heavy infantry like Custodies, you still wound things on 2s. And then you've got AP -2 and 1 damage. So it's a really versatile weapon. You can thermal spear something and then finish it off with the strike if it's a vehicle. Or you can thermal spear some infantry, completely turn them to slag, and then run in there and sweep them apart with the Chain Glaive again. But the cherry on top is its ability. Impetuous Glory. That's a great backup name for the channel if GW ever comes after me. Each time this model makes a charge move until the end of the turn, melee weapons equipped by this model have the sustained hits 1 ability. This is not a super powerful ability. It's not broken or anything like that. It's just good. It's just a straight up damage increase in melee, and you want this thing in melee. It likes melee. The chain cleave, I should say, is good. So it's an ability that actually isn't situational and helps the unit do what it wants to do. But wait, there's more, because the Warglaive has a very attractive points value. It's only 150 points. In terms of guard armor, that puts it somewhere between the Hellhound and the Russ. We're talking good Russes, like the Battle Tank and the Exterminator. But then you actually start thinking about it a bit more, and you're like, well, what about the Vanquisher? Ask yourself honestly, outside of rule of cool, outside of the Vanquisher cannon being a big dick cannon, just looking at the actual rules, what would you rather take? A Vanquisher or save 5 points and take a Warglaive? Me personally, I'm just saying, call me Imperial Knight Glory, because that Warglaive is going to get my vote every single time. It's comparatively as durable as a Russ. There is maybe a little bit more fragile, but it's got the firepower and it's got the melee and it's got the OC. So for me, I think the Armiger Warglaive presents a fantastic opportunity for guard players, because it allows us to bulk out our armored core with actually good armor. No longer do you need to be like, well, I need to get an extra tank in there. Oh, I'll put like a Hydra in there, or I'll take like a Lemur's Vanquisher or an Eradicator. Oh yeah, put something, or a Hellhound. It's like, no. You want to get an extra piece of armor in there that's on the lower end of the scale and is actually going to do something. Stop messing about. Take the Warglaive. I'm very interested in these things. I'm not going to lie. I'm looking at either picking a few of these up or printing a few of them. I think that they genuinely will allow guard to spam armor even more. Imagine taking 6 pieces of armor. You got your 3 Lemurous Exterminators and then 3 Armiger Warglaives. You could do all of that. It's going to come in at less than 1,000 points. You're going to have plenty of points left over for your infantry, for your artillery, for your officers. You're absolutely fine on that front. And yet, what I also realize about the Armiger is not only does it help you bulk out your armored core, but kind of like Sentinels, they are on the line, they're on the fence. They blur the line between being a unit that you want to damage with, like a tank, and a unit that can push forward and do objectives, like your infantry. And so even if this does cut into your armored budget a bit or cut into your infantry budget a bit, you're not actually losing out in either front. You're still maintaining your damage output and you're still maintaining your ability to control objective. In summary, the Armiger Warglaive has got it all. Decent defensive stat line, okay damage output at range and melee, and it's got a very attractive points cost as well. I think as guard players, we need to have a look at these things and consider them for our lists. They have a lot to offer. Well, at least that's what I think. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comments section below. Have you tried using Warglaives? Have they been effective? Or did you find in the end that there's nothing quite like a guard tank? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to smash that like button and also subscribe to never miss an episode. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Mad Larkin, Marcus Roberts, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Wolf, Diesel Fox, and August Varney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.